There's a degree of awakening that is not discussed in books, a stage that is so raw, lonely, and genuine that most people who experience it have no idea how to describe it. That's because this isn't merely a change in thinking. It's the full breakdown of your identity. Only the rarest, most powerful healers may experience this awakening. And it is not glamorous. It is not tranquil. It feels as if everything you know has stopped working until something far bigger takes its place. Not everyone gets to this stage. Not all awakened souls. This is true. Nobody informs you. The most powerful healers go through the most severe, painful, and perplexing interior transformations, culminating in the ultimate awakening. It does not arrive peacefully. It rips everything open. It silences all you believed you knew. Not to destroy you, but to repair you from the inside out. If you've been suffering weird physical symptoms, profound inner silences, or a complete lack of desire to serve others, you could believe you're broken. However, in truth, you are activating something that only the rarest souls possess. The last awakening ring for a great healer. These are the symptoms that confirm that. And number 6 will completely blow your head. This might be the most misinterpreted sign of all. One day you simply quit. You cease reaching out to assist others. You cease checking in. You cease examining every emotional trauma within oneself. You do not lose sympathy. You simply lose the impulse. And instead of panicking, you feel almost dark, as if your system is turning off all sounds for a reason you are incapable of naming. This is where the last awakening starts. Not with motivation, but with nothingness. You're not lazy. You're not numb. You've merely hit the limits of your existing capabilities. Your neurological system has been wired for years, if not your whole existence. Caring, healing, checking in, giving your energy. And now, the system has turned. It wants nothing. You're no longer interested in spiritual tools, self-help literature, energy work, or emotional processing. It feels weird, almost wrong. But deep down, you understand that it is not a loss. It is a clearing, because at this level, the healer gets hollowed out rather than broken, emptied, so something completely fresh can enter, something old beyond method. And this nothingness you're sitting in is not the end. It's a hallowed area, just before you realize who you were before the healer identity existed. At first, it causes irritation. You feel exhausted after short chats. You take up stress from folks who aren't even conscious they're projecting. Then it deepens. And now it's no longer simply about who you can tolerate. It's about who your body rejects to be with. You feel your body tense. We're coming to the end, getting overwhelmed, even with individuals you previously adored. It's not a judgment. It is not ego. It is your energy, saying this isn't safe anymore. During the last awakening, your vibrational field becomes unchangeable. And when someone's presence forces you to shrink, cover, or bear their misery for them, your body starts rejecting it at the cellular level. You will have headaches, stomach problems, random anxiousness, and perhaps rashes or flare-ups. Not because you're sensitive, but because your body is finally setting limits. Your spirit is always required. This is why great healers in the latter stages of awakening begin to separate, not out of fear, but because their system is rewriting the laws of connection. You're no longer here to bear someone else's shadow, and your body knows when someone's energy asks you to do so. So, if being among people has recently seemed heavy, perplexing, or uncomfortable, you are not antisocial. You are being rewired. And the isolation, it is not loneliness. It's calibration. You're strolling, cooking, scrolling, and doing nothing remarkable. It suddenly hits a wave of grief, a peculiar sadness. Tears emerge from nowhere, or a quick surge of excitement, clarity, or gentleness that is overwhelming. It practically knocks your breath out. and you can't track it. It is not linked to a memory. It is not about your history. It just is. This is what occurs when your body becomes a conduit for communal release. You're not only releasing your own trauma anymore. You've opened the channel just enough to experience what others are still burying. This does not make you a martyr. This turns you into an instrument, one so highly tuned that it can convey emotions that others aren't ready to feel. But here's the difference. You do not become attached to the emotion at this level. You do not try to examine it. You let it go since you're no longer around to name everything. You're here to transform it. And when this happens, it is not your responsibility to sort it out. It's about trusting your ability to feel fully without drowning, to hold grief and let it go. And the fact that you can do it now can sit amid a tidal wave of energy while being entire. That proves you've reached the last step. You used to understand what you were doing. You had a method, flow, and rhythm. Perhaps you conducted energy work, taught others, or held holy space with words. However, nothing seems to be working anymore. The tactics seem empty. The words do not land. The sessions become quiet. Instead of panicking, you feel resigned, as if your hands are being steered towards something you haven't learned yet, but already have. This is when your healing goes beyond knowledge in a last awakening. Healers cease practicing healing and start embodying it. Your presence becomes the medication. Your stillness becomes the channel. Your silence becomes louder than any affirmation. This is also why many strong healers have a period of complete bewilderment in their profession, not because they are lost, but because their approach is being rewritten by them. What formerly took hours now takes minutes. What for? Quiet effort is now achieved through a class, a breath, and a stop. You're no longer the facilitator. You're the frequency itself. Also, if your current healing method is failing, do not repair it. Allow it to break down. Let it disintegrate, because what is attempting to emerge will not fit the container it was intended to replace. You've rested before. You've had lazy weekends, lonely retreats, and even burnouts. However, this is not like the others. You don't just want to break. You seek tranquility. You want to disengage from everything and vanish into silence. Stop engaging in the world's noise. And not because you're exhausted, but because your body is demanding more than ever before. This level of stillness is not sleep. This is not self-care. It is the activation process. What's happening right now is a thorough energy reorganization. Your aura is undergoing adjustment. Your nervous system is recalibrating. And the most potent healers can only make this transformation when the outer world is switched off. You'll find that you avoid even little distractions. You may be repulsed by phone notifications, music, or even conversing. Loud energy overwhelms you emotionally. Little chat overstimulates you, and fast-paced surroundings make you physically tense. In that silence, something divine emerges. Your own voice is audible again. This level of quiet may seem unusual at first since it is not passive. It's really clever. It's packed with instructions that can only be heard once in order to keep up with the pace days later. So, if you find yourself in need of calm, alone time, or utter separation, do not explain it. Do not apologize. This is when your genuine healing self is finally able to download. You do not know how you know. You just do. You can perceive things before they happen. You sense someone's truth before they say it. You know who to stay away from without requiring proof. The oddest part, you stop questioning it. You simply follow it. In the last step, the healer no longer distinguishes between intuition and action. You aren't waiting for confirmation. You're not looking for indications. Your body is the sign. This represents the move from guiding to embodiment. You've processed and learned enough. Your system is now merely running under internal authorization. You do not need cards, pendulums, or validation. The information enters via your cells, your quiet, your instant emotional response, and you believe it. This is also why some may be scared by you right now, since your clarity is apparent. You no longer ask why. You act on instinct, and that instinct has nothing to prove. This degree of knowledge is not acquired. It is remembered, and it only appears when you've eliminated every voice that persuaded you to question yourself. You've spent years inquiring, learning, and trying. Now you know. If any of these indications seem familiar, subscribe to the Balloon now, because your awakening deserves to be recognized, not ignored. Everything that used to fit suddenly no longer does. You look at your social media, spiritual practice, habits, and statements, and they don't feel like you anymore. They weren't incorrect, they were just too little. This is the point at which your frequency transcends your identity. The final healer finds this stage unsettling. You begin to discard all you previously held as true, the labels and procedures, even the folks you used to get along with. It is not personal. You won't know the new way. You'll just know the old one is ended, and it will be reflected in your posture, stillness, and limits. You'll start moving slowly, talking less, and watching more since you're no longer reacting. You are undergoing a process of reinvention. The reality is, your soul is laying a new foundation, and that foundation will not be developed using your former self as a template. The last and most deep revelation is that you never came here to save the world. You never came here to bear everyone's grief. You did not come here to permanently embody the healer archetype. You came here to be entire, and now you feel it. The serene desire to just exist, to laugh without being spiritually connected to the light, to grieve without attaching it to a shadow, exist without fixing anything. This is when you become the most powerful version of yourself. Because for the first time, your power is not being directed at others. It is being absorbed into your humanity. You quit guiding others. You begin strolling with them. You cease speaking from knowledge. You begin speaking from experience. You cease providing healing and instead embrace completeness. And the individuals who discover you following this transformation, they do not come to be saved. They remember who they are just by being near you, since you're no longer the healer. You are the mirror. If you've reached this point, you've learned something that few people ever do. The right to cease becoming and simply be. You no longer seek growth in the name of healing. You can no longer shape-shift to meet the expectations of others. Your suffering no longer needs to be labeled as spiritual. You may be gentle, aggressive, calm, and playful. You are free to be everything you will heal. Because your awakening is no longer about expansion, you never created place for yourself. It is about returning to the breath and the body. Back to you. And if this sounds familiar, whether you've experienced the loss of old tools, the collapse of your healing identity, or the hallowed quiet that no one else seems to comprehend, this place is for you. Subscribe not because you want more answers. Subscribe because you've had enough of pretending you don't know. This is when your last awakening occurs, and you no longer have to go alone.